Na 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 na. Ah.
I wear a bra, so hopefully my nips aren't out.
They're gonna be out.
I know you. I wear this little sweater.
I'm fine with nips out in a setting like this. I don't want to see your nips in the meat section of Sprouts.
In aisle 5.
In aisle 5.
Or in the freezer section, bitch.
Why am I nervous?
Because it matters to you.
It does matter.
Yeah.
It does matter. I'm so proud of us.
Me too.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to episode 7 of the Humanhood series. It is the final episode of this series.
For part 1.
For part 1, baby. And Humanhood is really about humanizing this wild-ass human experience and making personal development more personal. And as we shout out our sponsor, I want to share it in a different way. So obviously we've been using experiences to host this incredible series. And up until this point, we've been sharing, use it for your rentals, your photo shoots, your bridal showers, all of these things. But what I feel is more important about this whole partnership with is Desi and how Desi came into our life.
Yeah.
And how this whole thing came about and the power of connection and friendship. And Desi attended Melanie's retreat 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you remember, but seeing her walk into the house, she came alone and she was shy. Everyone was shy. And at that retreat, she said, I just got the keys to this building.
That's right.
And I am going to open up an elopement venue.
She sure did.
And less than a year later, I think it was exactly at the 11th month mark, she opened up this incredible space.
Yeah.
And we have really seen Desi step into this new level of entrepreneurship and the creatrix that she is. But more importantly, how you two specifically have really helped each other in this space.
Right.
And none of that would have come about if Desi didn't come to retreat.
I know.
If the relationships that were cultivated at that experience didn't blossom into what they did.
Right.
And now we're here hosting our series in Desi's space.
And she's in the other room doing hair.
And I was thinking about that today. And I'm like, that is what's beautiful about this sponsorship or this partnership.
Right.
Is Desi and how this all came about.
Yeah.
Emotional.
I know. It really is so special, truly, because I don't really do a lot of partnerships with people. You know that about me. But when it came to this space and stepping in and wanting to collaborate with her on the possibilities of what could happen here, it was like a full fuck yeah. And I'm like, let's do it. She's like, oh my God, I've been wanting somebody, but I didn't know who. And I'm like, apparently it's meant to be me. So hi.
Yeah. And just seeing her beautiful face every Wednesday. We've had so much fun seeing her and seeing the space grow. And you guys, again, you two specifically have really supported each other with these different projects that we're bringing to life. And I'm just like, 2 years ago, I didn't know Desi.
Yeah. And fun fact, Desi shared this at retreat, she's like, when I first met Melanie, I wanted to fight her.
Oh yeah.
Because I was at a house party in junior high and I went and hugged her boyfriend or something. But I was dating his best friend at the time. She was like, who the fuck is that bitch? And now look at us.
And now look at you two.
Now look at us.
And she's like, so not like that anymore.
I know, right now when I went in there to go say hi, she's like, because we didn't see her last week. She's like, hi, friend. I was like, that's what the fuck I'm talking about. That's how I need to be greeted every day. That's how I need to be greeted in my life. I was like, I love you. That's why I made her a cup of cacao.
Oh, yeah. I just thought it was so beautiful. It's so much more. There's so much more depth to the place, to the space, to the relationships, to how even this whole series came about, which we're going to get into today, and just the power of connection and relationships and sisterhood and mentors. I mean, all of these little people, all of these people who play such a major role in our lives.
Yes, so cheers to that.
Yes, cheers.
We are sipping on ceremonial grade cacao by Fly Cacao. That is cacao with a K.
So good.
This is my absolute favorite ceremonial grade cacao. It's created by my soul sister, Mackenzie Marsluff. It is a nonprofit organization. She works with farmers in Colombia, Peru, Guatemala, local farmers, small families, and the nonprofit really, everything just goes back to the people. Everything goes back to the land. Everything goes back to them being able to harvest the sacred heirloom seeds of this cacao, because if you don't know, majority of the chocolate out there is hybridized. So the original heirloom seeds, being able to sip on this, and all the hands that touched it, all the people, and the generations and generations that have kept this so special and sacred for us. So cheers.
Cheers.
I love you.
I
I'm so excited about this. I can't wait to dive into today's conversation.
Me too. We're going to get lit off this cacao.
Get fucking lit, bitch. This is how we go hard.
I know. This is how we rage with the cacao.
Motherfucking Wednesday afternoon. This is how we rage.
Cheers.
No cacao mustache over there.
You have one.
Do I?
No. I just wanted to scare you a little bit. Oh, I know. I'm going to have to
It's so yummy.
come back to that while you...
Okay, so kick us off, Casey. Kick us off.
Okay. Well, we haven't told them about how we met.
Yeah.
And it's such a fun story.
It is.
It is.
I love our story.
So do I.
It's such a good one.
It's such a good story.
Yeah.
And I think in the episode 1, we're like, did we meet 2 years ago? 3 years ago? It was 4 years ago.
That's right.
It was 4 years ago, 2021.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So where do we begin? When
Well, wait, hold on. Before you dive into that, the reason why this is important for those of you who are watching is because relationships, platonic relationships, friendships, connections, hands down, in my opinion, are literally the most important and sacred part of the human experience. It is what makes our human experience, is our connections, is our relationships. And obviously you even heard the connection and relationship of why we're even here in this space, that in itself. But this is so important because it shows you the power and the possibilities behind your friendships, behind your connections, behind a simple yes. So I just wanted to pre-frame that, because it's like, well, why do we want to know how you guys met?
Right.
It's important. There's a moral to the motherfucking story. So
Buckle up. Buckle up. Actually, let me take a sip of water. What are you talking about?
she's like, I need to buckle up.
I know. Okay. Okay. Well, when I met you, it was 4 years ago, and my life looked completely different.
Yeah.
I, up until that point, had been working in a law firm for 12 years, which feels like a completely different life to me at this point. And I was working at this law firm, and I had a feeling things were about to change. Really, I had a feeling that I was going to get fired from this place very soon. There were a lot of things going on personally and professionally, and all the signs were there. And so I started to put my little antennas on, my energetic antennas of I should probably start keep an eye out for new opportunities, because I'll probably need one very soon. And a couple weeks before we connected, and I started having these thoughts, my overachieving ass, put together a website, if you remember. Remember I sent you the website?
I don't remember that.
Okay. So instead of updating my resume, because it just felt so unaligned and like ick, I'm like, I'm going to make a website. I'm going to make a personal brand website, because the next person that I work for is going to appreciate this type of creativity, this type of expression. It's like I tried to fill out the resume, and I'm like, this feels so contracting and literally. So I'm like, let's have fun and make a website. A personal brand website about me.
I don't even have a personal brand yet.
I know. It was slowly creeping. But so I put together this website, and it's completely full about me, my skill set, all the stuff. And it's just sitting there for a couple of weeks. And then I remember I'm in my kitchen and I'm scrolling on Instagram because I had been following you at that point for maybe like under a year.
Okay.
At that point, I found you and you were popping off with the whole conspiracy theory.
Yo, shout out to that era, bitch. So many people found me in that era.
Yeah.
I know. I had a message this morning, actually. I may come back. We'll see.
Yeah. So I started following Melanie because she was posting about all these conspiracy theories. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting into this world. Like, this is interesting to me. She's a reliable source of information. So I had been following her for a few months at that time. Also at this point, you were releasing a lot of moving mantras, which we need to bring those back because what the fuck.
Well, I did release one.
I know.
November 11th, The Universe Got Me. It's out on Spotify and all streaming platforms.
Yes, but you were very deep in your
I was.
moving mantra project. And I love that because at this point in my life, I was stepping into a more conscious space. A lot of things in my life were changing, as I mentioned, and I just really appreciated having like good conscious music to listen to. So I was vibing with Melanie energetically on social media, and I was in my kitchen and she posts, I'm looking for a quote, dope ass virtual assistant. Hit me up if this is you. And I initially get this hit like, I really like this girl. Like I'm vibing with what she's doing. I'm seeing the music she's putting out. It's probably going to be to help her with social media or maybe her music or something. Like, okay, like maybe I'll respond to this. And then I put down my phone and I was like, no, I don't know. I don't know about this. And then I'm like, Casey, you have that freaking website. You created this website 2 weeks ago, just sitting there. Just send it to her. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Like the spot's filled or it's a no. Like you put this website together and you have this opportunity with someone who you respect and admire. Send your interest. And so I'm like, okay, I go to my website, copy and paste it. And I'm like, hey, I don't know what I said to you, but I'm sure I can find the messages. And, I was like, I'm definitely interested in this. Here's my website. Boom, here we go. And you responded rather quickly and was like, wonderful, let me take this back to my business partner and I'll reach out to you, in a little bit. And I was like, okay, cool. And literally I think it was that night you said like, I would love to meet with you in the next coming days. Like we looked at your website, looks great. Like I would love to get to know you more. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. She's local to Scottsdale. I'm local. I love what she's up to. Like this seems like it could be a really great opportunity. So we meet at Farm and Craft, I think within a couple of days.
Yeah, it happened fast.
It happened very quickly within a couple of days. And again, I don't really know what the job description is. I don't know anything. I'm just coming to meet somebody off of social media for a potential opportunity. And again, let me remind you, I was in a very transitional point in my life. I hadn't been fired yet.
Yeah, but I think it's an important point, like to really show the depth of this story, is that you are working for your family. It was your family's law firm.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't forget that detail.
Well, thanks, Mel.
That's really important because for me, it's symbolic that you shifted from one family situation to a new family situation.
Yeah, that's very true. And there were a lot of layers. I mean, working for a family, anyone who has worked for your family knows that there are added layers of loyalty. There's a lot of layers and dynamics when you're working with your family, and it's not an easy transition to make. So if anyone out there is working with your family, I give it up to you because it's beautiful, but it also comes with challenges.
Yeah.
And this was a whole new life I was about to step into, a whole new identity that I was about to step into. So I had not been fired yet. But I'm like, I'm going to go meet Melanie for lunch and see what's up because I know it's happening any day now. Yeah. And so we meet at Farm and Craft, and I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, so I was actually an amazing, fruitful, one of the most richest relationships of my entire life. Arvin Anderson, shout out to you, Arvin, if you're watching this. He was the coaching director at Mastermind when I got hired to work for Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, and he changed my whole life. Like, he really taught me how to be an incredible coach, for real. Yeah. And eventually he left the company and was branching off to create his own company. I was still working with the company, but I was working as a contractor for him to help bring his company to life. And building his team was a part of that process. So essentially my job was come in, help him build the company, do all these things, and then replace myself so that he can continue without me. And I mean, I was like, I'm going to be hard to replace. It's not going to be easy. I got to find somebody quite extraordinary.
Yeah.
So obviously I wanted to leave him in his situation with the best of the best, like somebody that, because one of his highest values is integrity and excellence.
Yeah.
And he is a top tier human being and does everything at the highest level. And so I'm like, whoever I leave him with has to be so right for this position for me to be able to sleep at night.
Yeah.
So when I met you that day, literally, I felt like it was like 20 minutes in, Casey. I was like, she's the fucking one. Like your certainty, your devotion, I could just tell that you were such an overachiever. I was like, that's the type of energy that we need, just like taking initiative. I just felt everything in your spirit, and I know Arvin. And I know that he was going to take what was already there and help develop it to the max capacity, or not even max capacity, because there is no max capacity. You're always going to be evolving, but to the highest level that he could. Mm-hmm. And so we had a great meeting. I was like, she's the fucking one. And you know what solidified it for me? At the very end, this bitch pulls out a fucking plant out of her goddamn purse. She had a plant. She brought me a plant as a gift, and it was sitting in her purse the whole time. I was like, she had this fucking potted plant in her purse this entire meeting. I was like, wow, who does that? Who just pulls a plant out of their purse after first meeting you and gifts it to you like that? It was just so extraordinary. And so, long story short, we gave you the position. You came in, and it was a totally different world for you. Oh, yeah. You were now surrounded by a team full of international high-level coaches who worked for Tony Robbins and all these people at the top of their game. And it was probably like a fucking personal development college for you in a lot of ways, because we were very intense, especially Arvin's ass.
Oh my gosh.
High intensity human. It's like we were like, fuck yeah, we were so committed, so dedicated, so like 10, 10, 10 all over the place all the time. Like, and so I know it was a really huge shift for you. But you came in and you fit in so well. And you were open and you were excited. And it probably might have been a little bit scary for you, because you're like, fuck, dude, this is so new. These people do this. And I just came from this fucking law firm. Like, but the reason why I mentioned, like, it's important that we add in the detail that you were working for your family is because you became our family fast, like so fast.
And I needed that, because I lost my job, but I also lost my family in that moment as well too.
Yeah.
And when I think about, like, that was like a rebirth for me. I almost felt like a little toddler when my brain was what's the word? Malleable, where like, okay, well now it's like a rebirth, and being surrounded and loved and nurtured and cared for in that time period was like adult Casey, but little Casey being held and loved and nourished by a family who really, really cared about me and wanted to see me win and helped me grow. And I think if I wouldn't have had you guys, who knows? Because my biggest thing from working with you all was, yes, the skills and I mean, just the leadership and everything that I learned from you all. But what I really took away from our time together was having a really deep understanding of human psychology and why everything happened in my life and why each person was behaving the way that they were, including myself. The importance of really understanding like how the mind works. And it allowed me to have a deep acceptance and see the situation with compassion versus like anger. I was like, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand why all of this happened, like on a deep, deep level.
Yeah.
And so while we're building this coaching company, what I'm really taking from it is it's helping me move through this personal process where that could have been a way harder thing to navigate without the support and without the understanding and without just the love and acceptance. Because I mean, there were some times where I was moving through a process and you guys are like, we're here. Yeah. Definition of holding space of you can unravel, you can share what's on your heart, you can go through whatever process you need, and we're just here holding space for you.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I didn't really understand how important that was because I've never really had someone hold space for me to just express how I'm feeling in the moment. That was a new concept for me.
Yeah.
And so having you, having Arvin, having Amiri, like all of you guys, it was just so nurturing to have that.
Yeah. You came in like a breath of fresh air, my friend, because I poured so much into that company because how much I love Arvin and just his mission and everything, and being able to leave feeling so confident, not an ounce of guilt of like, oh, what is he going to do without me? I mean, he did cry on our last call. Remember?
Yeah.
He cried when it was like time for me to go.
Yeah.
But I just knew, I'm like, he's in good hands. Like, I feel so okay with, like, now my time is up here and it's time for me to go be a fairy somewhere else.
Yeah.
But our story wasn't over.
No.
Our story wasn't over.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
First shout out Arvin.
When
you say,
Arvin Anderson, like one of the most phenomenal human beings I've ever known. And I know a lot of badass motherfuckers, but that's a top tier human right there. Yeah,
he really, really is wonderful. And he changed your life. You changed mine. I got to work with him and he got to change mine, and Amiri as well. I mean, I just love, and Skylar. I mean,
we had such an incredible team.
Had such a great team. And man, I can't believe we really only spent like a year together and so much changed. When I tell you what can happen in a year, I was never the same after that. Yeah. But unfortunately, the team kind of all went their separate ways just because Arvin took the company in a different direction. But I remember when you left, Melanie, I was so sad. I was so sad. But at the time, Melanie was doing one-on-one coaching for mainly women with just like a life reset, pretty much, you know, really helping women just come back to themselves is what I took from it. And I remember you left and I was like, I'm not done with you yet.
No, don't go.
Don't go, Melanie. I really wanted to continue working with you, but more so I really wanted to continue just to be with you, because what I was learning from just being around you, there are certain people who, yes, you can work with them and obviously gain a lot of knowledge, but when you surround yourself with certain people, your life up levels because you start to co-regulate with their behaviors, with how they show up, with how you show up, like you naturally start to regulate to one another. And I just felt like being in your essence was wholeheartedly up leveling my life in a really like organic way. I liked who I was when I was around you. You know, I liked being able to talk about the things we would talk about, and just like, I wanted more of that. And I hired you as my coach, and we went through, I think it was
6 weeks.
6 weeks together. And that just solidified all the shifts that were happening in my life even more because I had been around excellence and I was already excellent. We know this. I was the top tier human, but I was moving through this, but also I wanted a framework and a structure of, okay, I'm feeling all of this, but now like, where do I go from here? Yeah. I have a lot of puzzle pieces, but I need like a little bit more structure in the puzzle. Yeah. And that's really what that gifted me, was a hard reset and look at my life and how I was showing up and who I wanted to become. And it just really set a nice foundation for me to use this new embodied excellence in a more intentional way. Yeah. Because you can be great, but if you're not doing anything with that greatness, like it's lost greatness. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And so we worked together. It was absolutely amazing. And then from there, we just kind of naturally became friends.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't really know the boundaries and the lines at that point because we had been working together formally the entire time, whether it be in a professional setting or as coach and client. Yeah. And so I kind of had this like, are we friends?
Yeah.
You know, or am I just your client?
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
And then eventually, like, it just started to organically morph into more of a friendship. And I was like, okay, I think this is a friend. Yeah. And now we're sitting here. We've created multiple projects together.
Yeah. And now you facilitate at my retreat every year.
Yes. Yeah. Facilitate at your retreat. We hosted an incredible event, Transcend, earlier this year.
I forgot that was earlier this year.
This year. It was so great.
It was.
We brought both of our communities together for this really, really beautiful and powerful 3 or 4 hour.
It was 4 hours.
4-hour deep dive experience. And it's just been fun blending both of our essences and our passions and pieces of our expertise together and just create really fun things together.
Yeah. One thing that I want to highlight about this story, take note, because Casey was on her journey, a beautiful evolution story in so many ways that has got her to who she is and where she is now. But at the very beginning, it was an intuitive hit. It was instinctual. Yeah. She just knew it. She had that feeling. Things are gonna change. I need to move now. Yeah. And she listened and she took the action. So many people get those nudges, get those downloads, are getting those messages, and they ignore them. They ignore them because sometimes you just think it's irrelevant. You chalk it up to nothing. You ignore it out of fear. You ignore it out of laziness because you know it's going to be a lot of work and you don't want to do all of that. But a common theme in Casey's story is that when she had this feeling or when she had the desire, she took action on it. From reaching out to me to then hiring me as her coach and so on and so on and so on. And even at the end of our coaching time together was when you were telling me that you wanted to learn how to be a breathwork practitioner. And that was like, you didn't know, or you didn't even know if you wanted to go full force in being a coach, but you were like, I want to learn this deeper. Yeah. So then another nudge that she took action on and went and got the training and all of that and started hosting and started facilitating. And it was just one choice after another that continued her on her path to be sitting in this chair with me now as who she is today. And we're not special in the sense of like where life has brought us. We're special in our souls and our unique essences and things like that. But anybody could really get to where they want to be in a certain amount of time if you only stayed committed to saying yes to those nudges that your soul is on fire about. Because when I first got the nudge to throw my first women's event when I never threw an event ever in my fucking life, and I was just got out of the music industry and I was a new mom. Like I was like 6 months old, bro. that message came to me multiple times. Like, Spirit was knocking on my door, like, you need to throw an event for women and teach them what you know. You need to throw an event for women. I remember the first time it ever came into my mind, I said no to it. And I was like, hell no. I don't have no money right now of my own. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have never thrown an event before. That's too much. That feels like a lot, you know? Then the message kept coming. Certain life situations kept reinforcing, this is what you need to do, because life gives us evidence. You had evidence. That's why you were like, I feel like I'm going to lose my job. Yeah. There's some shit going down, and I need to pay attention to what's happening. I need to pay attention to what life is telling me right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of people ignore what life is telling them. A lot of people ignore the motherfucking signs, bitch. It could be boop, smacking you up beside the head, and you're ignoring it because you want to stay comfortable, or it's a big lack of self-trust. You don't trust yourself enough to listen. You don't trust yourself enough to take action. So that's where relationships come in hand, because you could have gotten hired for the job with me and Arvin, and then maybe we would not have been great people. You know, maybe would not have been so supportive or something like that. But you felt the energy. You chose me intentionally when you messaged me, you know? So when you feel that pull towards people, when you feel that, I was doing the dishes the other night, and this little song started rolling out of me, and it was for Mackenzie, the creator of the cacao. And it's like, I got a sister, I met her at IKEA. I said it's nice to meet ya, and then our souls went deeper. Yeah, it was like a spirit that is just like mine. When light meets light, yeah, she's an earth warrior, an earth gangster, yeah, she's an earth angel, the purest soul. I know.
Did you send it to her?
I did. I recorded it. It was just this cute little song. It just rolled out of me as I was doing the dishes, like line for line, bitch.
Oh my gosh.
I know, and I just sent it to her, and I did meet her at IKEA.
Yeah.
I know, like, I was at IKEA, and I heard the tone of her voice from afar. I didn't even see her. I just heard her. And immediately, something in my spirit was like, who is that? That's one of my favorite stories to tell, because it was instant. It was like, that's my vibration.
Yeah.
It was like a magnet. And I trust myself so much that I knew, like, I don't feel this way about people. I'm not easily drawn to people. Let me listen to that. So I sparked up a conversation with her. Next thing you know, like, we connect, and now years later, she's one of my dearest, most sacred sisters, and I love her so, so much. But again, I listened to the pull. I took action on the pull, and I trusted my instinct and my intuition of who I was feeling drawn to.
Yeah.
And that sometimes the lack of self-trust comes from a history of choosing the wrong people. But that's when you know you need to do more internal work.
Yeah.
And you might be drawn to some of the wrong people.
Right.
You know?
As like a trauma response.
Yeah, totally. But sometimes we're drawn to the wrong people for the wrong reasons. But then there are people that we do feel, you specifically said, I was inspired by what she was doing. And so don't just find people that you have something in common with, that find people that you are inspired by, that you do feel motivated and uplifted by, people that bring out the best in you, the version of you that you like, is what you said. So those are all such beautiful reflections when it comes to who you are choosing in your life. From romantic relationship to your friendships, do I like who I'm with when I'm with you?
Yeah.
That's such a great question.
And your working relationships too.
Totally.
We spend so much time with our work families.
Yeah.
And some of those work relationships are toxic.
Yeah.
They are so toxic, and the person sitting next to you, or your boss, or whoever it is. And what I have learned is that it's such a like cliche thing to say, but you really become the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
So if the person you're sitting next to in your cubicle or whatever is negative and complaining and bitching and all these things, like you are going to pick up on those mannerisms and those behaviors, and that's going to start to become who you are.
Unless you choose that you are going to be the motherfucker who brings the light and who has enough power and enough energy to impact everybody else. But if you don't, if you don't want to be that person and you can't take that on, that's when you really have to make decisions to get up and go. Yeah. I remember while I was building Woman to Woman, I was working as a server at a sushi restaurant in Old Town. Geisha Go-Go. Y'all remember, it was like Sunday Fun Day, Wild Wild West over there. Yeah. And it was that toxic environment, bro. It was so bad. Yeah. And I was at like a peak in my personal development, spiritual process. Like I was in prayer, my affirmations every day. Like I would open up the restaurant and it would usually be a little while before people would come in. I was like, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to get some sun. And I'd be in my little black dress and my little work boots and my little waitress outfit. And in my checkbook, I would be writing on receipt paper my affirmations every day. So I was like, I am maintaining this frequency in this space. Yeah. And I did it for as long as I could. Yeah. And I set boundaries. There's a lot of gossip in Old Town. Girls will be girls. Yeah. In that, and I say girls intentionally, not women, girls. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was like, I am not going to be a part of the drama and the gossip and all of this stuff. Like, I'm not going to engage in any of this bullshit. And I had to make that like firm boundary within myself. And I remember the day that I was making all these commitments, it was like tested that day. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting there at the bar, like waiting for customers and stuff. And, these 2 girls are just talking shit about this other girl. And then they looked at me. One of them looked at me and she was like, right? Like, didn't she do that? And I looked at her and I was like, I do not want to talk about people with you guys. And they were like, okay, well, she. But that was like, for me, I am not engaging in the low vibration while I'm here. I am going to maintain my motherfucking frequency while I'm here until it got to the point where I was like, okay, now it's time to get the fuck out of here. Yeah. And sometimes that's a big thing. Like sometimes you have to leave the job, leave the man or woman, leave the friend. Like that's a very uncomfortable part of this process is when you have to say goodbye. Sometimes it's your own family. Yeah. You know what I mean? But when you have it in you, when that self-devotion and the commitment to a greater you, to a brighter future, to a happier life is so strong at the core of your being. It's like a blazing fire, and you make those sacrifices and you make those shifts, then the fruits come. Mm-hmm. It's like pruning the tree. Mm-hmm. You have to prune your garden. You have to prune your bushes and stuff, and you have to cut shit off to where the tree looks bare. Yeah. Have you seen that? Yes. It's like, why the fuck did they do that? Yeah. For real. I remember one time I walked into my condo complex. I was like, what the fuck?
It looks awful.
They cut off all the greenery. But it was so that it could grow back bigger and better. Mm-hmm. And so that pruning season is uncomfortable and it's ugly. It's not always nice. But when the growth comes back and the flowers and the fruit are bigger and juicier, it's like now you're in that season of your life where your friendships are so fruitful, your marriage is fulfilling, your work is fulfilling, and I'm in that season of my life as well. And now we get to support people and activating that season in their life. Yeah. But we know the power of relationships and prioritizing the right ones and the inner work that needs to happen to even acquire the right ones.
Yeah. Yeah, really. And I love what you said about you don't necessarily have to leave if you can maintain your frequency. that's hard.
It's so hard.
It's really...
Eventually I left.
Yeah, eventually you're like doing more harm to yourself by...
Yeah. Eventually I was like, okay, it's time to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, but I mean, I just like have flashbacks to different environments that I was in where, yeah, I was the one maintaining my frequency, and it's like, God, but it's just, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, again, we talked about this in previous episodes. Attune your communication to me. Like, meet me where I'm at in this space. I can't always be the one always showing up high, always communicating effectively, always doing this stuff. Like, I need that to be reciprocated at some point, whether it's by the boss or by the partner or by the friend or by whoever. Like, you have to meet me at some point. Otherwise, this is not working anymore. It's too much work. The energetic exchange is not exchanging at this point.
Totally.
Yeah.
But it's also about just like, I always tell, this is one of the biggest things that I always tell my clients is like, know what time it is. Know what time it is in your life. Sometimes the time is you need to thug some shit out for a little while. Sometimes you just need to thug it out for a little longer. You need to exercise your resilience.
Yes.
You know.
And not run, because we were talking about this before we started this episode. Be mindful and discern. Am I leaning on this too much? Am I running from these relationships because I can't maintain my frequency? Or is it really time to, like, I've done everything I can here, now I'm going to shift. Because a lot of people do lean on that. They're like, peace out, screw you. You did one thing wrong. It's like, well, you can cut people off, but also give them an opportunity to up-level themselves. And then you leave if they can't.
But sometimes, like, the reality is we're human. We got bills. We got priorities, responsibilities. Sometimes it's like, actually, bro, don't leave your job just yet. You know? Or so sometimes it's just like human things that you have to stay put for a little while. You know? But this is another thing I say to my clients all the time is the world is your oyster. Straight up. There is so many things you could do out there. If you are hating your job, like, bitch, don't stay stuck there because of an amount of money or the limitations. At that goddamn sushi restaurant, I had wanted to leave for like a good 6 months, but I was building Woman to Woman. I was hosting events at that place as fundraisers to make money for Woman to Woman, which I was a hustler, okay? I'm going to tell you, I was making the most out of everything. That restaurant didn't open until 3, so I got to be with my baby all morning. I made really good money there fast because of the area that it was in and just how busy we were all the time. So it was like so many things that for a while I was telling myself, probably not going to make this much money somewhere else. I'm probably not going to find a restaurant that opens this late and I can't be with my baby at this time. And I had all these things 'cause I was still breastfeeding Vakai at that time. And so, so crazy to think about all these things. But I had to get myself out of those limiting beliefs, out of those limiting stories. And I was like, I remember the day where I was like, I'm getting the fuck out of here, bitch. It was like my boss went nuts on us, was fucking cussing everybody out. It was, bro, it was such a toxic environment. He was so disrespectfully degrading. It was bad, like bad. And I was like, I'm going to go work at a restaurant that is, I knew I still needed a serving job. I needed the flexibility. I needed to be able to make my own schedule. I needed easy money fast. Like I knew what I needed. And so I was like, I'm going to go work at True Food Kitchen, which I was like, I'm going to go get a job at True Food Kitchen. I love that restaurant. I love the food. I know the clientele there is going to be great because they're higher, like more conscious-minded people eating at a place like that. Like, that's where I want to work.
Just the frequency of the environment. I mean, I've been to both restaurants, and one's like dark and green and dingy, and then True Food is like bright and open and beautiful and airy. Like it really is a frequency.
And I wanted to be proud of what I was feeding people, what I was serving people. Like, bitch, I was serving sake bombs and shit. Like,
we're getting all sloshed all night.
Tempura.
Fried shrimp. Ew.
I used to go home smelling like fucking tempura. Like, so glad that's over. But So I did. And I went over there, and the people that I met, the relationships, the environment. Like, I met Robert Kiyosaki there.
Yeah.
And ended up doing an event with him.
Yeah.
Like, that job, that choice changed my life. It was there, working there in that frequency, in that vibration, when I decided that I actually wanted to be a coach. I was only doing events at the time. I was only speaking on other people's stages. I wasn't a coach yet. So it's like every single choice, every choice will send you down its own unique path.
Yeah. Even just the environment. Like, if you want to up level your life, go take yourself out to a nice restaurant. Go to Nobu by yourself. Go to Nobu by yourself. And even if it's just for a little appetizer, and go dress up and sit in that environment and look around and feel what it's not about being around a bunch of rich people and stuff like that, but it puts you in a different state of being. My sister and I were even talking about this the other day because we both want new cars. and my like personality, I'm like, why do I want this car? Because I do want a nicer car. And I'm like, why do you actually want this? Like, what's the why behind it? Is it because it's for vanity?
Right.
Or is it because, like, what's the real reason? And so her and I are going back and forth. And it's like, no, when I sit in this car, I feel like a new version of myself.
Right.
I feel better about myself, and not in a way like I need this to feel good. It puts you in a different frequency when you are around certain people, when you are in a certain car, when you're at a certain restaurant, whatever that is, it puts you in a different state of being.
Right.
And that changes a lot for you.
Yeah.
And it really does start with the simplest thing is the people around you.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
like when I was around you guys, it put, like, I had to up level. I didn't want to be the lame ass.
You didn't have a choice, bitch.
You know, I didn't want to be the one who was thinking like limiting or negative or whatever it is. Like, I really like had to observe and up level my life.
Yeah.
And that's what ended up changing my life. And that really helped me condition in more confidence and certainty and worthiness. Like you were talking about, like, I deserve better than this environment, but I need this because I can start late and I can feed my baby and I make a lot of money. But there has to be a point in your life where you believe in yourself and that you actually believe that you deserve more.
Yeah.
In your work environment, in your relationship, in your friendships, whatever it is.
And not only that you deserve it, but that it is actually available to you.
Yeah.
Because some people are like, I know my self-worth, but then they get stuck in like, but the reality of this and this and this. And it's like, no, girl, again, the world is your motherfucking oyster.
Yeah.
And there are people out there. Just think about this. There's somebody out there who is making so much money by putting flowers together. There are like top tier florists out there who make so much money playing with flowers every day. Like,
the possibilities
bitch,
are
don't
endless.
Tell me, I make a living doing whatever the fuck I want.
Oh yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Like, if I want to throw a healed girl house party, that's what I'm doing. If I want everyone to smoke weed and lay down and let me sing to them, that's what I'm doing. You know, like,
yeah.
I am the epitome of do whatever the fuck you want, bitch.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? And be able to make money at it. It didn't start this way.
Right.
I intentionally chose being a server. You know how humbling that was? Mm-hmm. Girl. In the middle of building myself as a speaker, you know, building my women's community, from one weekend, I'm speaking at the Powerhouse Women event, singing and speaking at the Powerhouse Women event in front of 500 women. The next weekend, I'm serving one of the women who was in the audience watching me, filming me.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I didn't know you worked here.
Yeah.
And I was like, hell yeah, I work here. I'm like, I'm a single mom entrepreneur building my business. Like, this is how I pay for my events.
Yeah.
Is this.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm on my shit. You know, I wasn't ashamed. Mm-hmm. It took a lot of internal work because actually, I was on mushrooms. I was on mushrooms and I was like, going to this rave festival thing with my friends, and the thing came to me of like me being a server, and I was like, I am a server. I serve people. That's what I do.
Yeah.
This is just a symbolic space. And I always used to call it personality exercise. Is being a server. I'm working with so many people, all these different personalities all the time. And one of the most intimate things that a person can do is serve you a meal.
Right.
You know? So it was like a sacrifice
Yeah.
that I made. I could have went and got so many jobs. I was working at the largest entertainment management company in the second largest company in the world before I moved back to Arizona.
Yeah.
I didn't have to be a fucking server.
Yeah.
But I chose that job intentionally because it worked for what I needed. But a lot of people won't humble themselves. A lot of people
Yeah.
are like to care about the image, because I could have been like, I can't be seen as a server.
Yeah. Server.
I cannot be seen here. This is so embarrassing, you know?
Yeah.
But it put me again in the environment, around the people, and all of these different things that set me up for success. And I got recruited. I didn't even necessarily go and apply. I got recruited to work for Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi while I was a server at that restaurant. And it's because I maintained my frequency and my vibration and my vision the entire time I was there, to the point where I met Arvin.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
You met him at True Food?
No.
Okay.
No, I just in that season. And I was at True Food Kitchen working with my apron on and everything when I got the call, and I saw like, oh, Arvin's calling me. It was after I went through the fucking ring of fire for the goddamn job. It was so challenging. But I remember like in my apron, I go in the hallway by the dumpsters, like hiding behind this dumpster to answer the phone, and Arvin offers me the position. Dude, I was like, in that moment, I was like, I'm never gonna serve a table ever again in my life.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And that was from the power of relationships too. Because it was Rocky in Princeton who referred me. So it's like,
Yeah.
every person. And how Rocky and I met was I found her online, and I was looking for coaches for my women's event, and I saw her online. She was presenting herself as a coach. But then when I met her, she's like, I actually haven't ever coached anybody yet. She's like, I just like started to be a coach, but I actually haven't had any clients yet.
I'm just telling people that.
Well, she's like, this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
Another choice.
Yeah.
Another was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to present myself this way, and this is what I'm after. She just hadn't done it yet.
It's the identity shift.
Yes.
That happens a lot. I mentor a lot of aspiring breathwork practitioners. And whenever I ask them, like, when your hairstylist asks you what you do you tell them? And they're like, oh, like my accounting job? And I'm like, well, that's why your business is failing. Why aren't you telling them you're a breathwork practitioner?
Yeah.
Like, it really is that simple. Change their bio in your Instagram to breathwork practitioner. Like, start to change the identity, and that's when all these things start to come up. So I love that Rocky's like, I'm putting coach, and I haven't done it yet, but I'm making the statement, coach.
Yeah. On her Instagram.
And now she's freaking amazing. She's an incredible coach.
I was like, oh, she's really a fucking coach.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
So then she came to my event, blah, blah, blah. We made that relationship. Boom. Then that one thing led to another, you know? So it's like putting yourself in the right spaces and places, putting yourself out there and saying, this is who I'm choosing to be. This is the identity that I'm committed to for these reasons, and magnetizing yourself, pulling in, attracting, being in vibrational alignment with the people who really have the power to change your life.
Really.
People, everyone says, only you can change your life. No, bitch. People can change your life.
Other people can help you significantly
absolutely.
change your life.
Absolutely. And I think we're supposed to.
Yeah.
We're meant to.
Yeah.
We're meant to impact each other.
And that's like a limiting belief that I had for a while, because a story that was, I don't know if it was conditioned or something I observed, but it was like the lone wolf.
A lot of people have that.
Yeah, because I'm the only one who can do it. Everyone screws you over. No one can do it as good as I can.
Oh gosh, I've had that.
And
You've
and
helped
then
me heal that, by the way.
really?
Yeah.
Wait, let's circle back to that in a second. But yeah, that's something that I've had to work through too. And actually, you have helped me heal that, where it's like, no, people, aligned partnerships, aligned people, you can do stuff together.
Yeah.
You can do it alone and it'll be great, but like it's more fun together.
Yeah.
And there are people who love you and will support you and help you, and like you guys can do it together. And I would say when we did I think our first event was Transcend. Was that the first?
Yeah.
I felt so relieved after that, because I'm like, wow, an aligned collaboration.
Yeah. It was
Where
so good.
both of our genius came into play, and it wasn't one person doing more than the other. It was like we did that together. That felt so good. Yeah. And so that is something that I really started to decondition from myself, of always having to do it alone, because we are meant to be in communion with other people.
Yeah.
And that's so healing within its own.
Oh, God. It totally is.
Yeah.
That was one of the things, and I remember we had a moment it was like 2 years ago at retreat, I want to say, when we were doing the acupuncture.
Can't move.
The cosmetic acupuncture. And we were laying next to each other, and I think it was after we just had this moment. I was just like, thank you for being my sister. Like, thank you for being somebody that I could always depend on, because working with you with Arvin and stuff, and just you are one of those people in my life that, first of all, you have your own high standard of excellence, which is amazing. It's like, that's just how she rolls. Like, that's just how she operates. So I can always depend on you to show up, to do something at the highest level, to take initiative, to not half-ass, and just be motherfucking reliable and dependable and trustworthy, you know? And for a creator like me, I'm so particular.
Yeah.
And you are too.
Yeah.
You're like one of my soulmates in that way.
Yeah. We're like,
yeah.
looking around everything.
Yeah. And we have our own areas of genius that balance really, really well with each other. And so our friendship has just been so healing for me, because I was like, this is somebody that I know I can go to, or I can create with, or I can collaborate with, where it is going to feel like an even energy exchange. And I feel so safe in this collaboration. Like, this person is not gonna let me down.
Yes.
You know? And I have that with Monique. And I have that with, now I have such a beautiful team of that. Like, I know none of my sisters are gonna let me down, but there's different degrees of collaboration.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, you were definitely one of those people for me that was like, you don't have to do it alone. Somebody is going to do it at the same degree that you would do it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've proven that throughout these past 7 episodes.
Straight up. Yeah, this is a labor of that.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's social proof.
It is. It is. It really, really is.
Well, episode 7. I feel like I'm so proud of us.
Me too.
I'm so proud of us, because I was thinking about this on the way over, and some things, like, I feel like for us specifically come really naturally. Like, this to me feels, it did push me out of my comfort zone with conversations.
Yeah.
Because I'm very reserved, as you mentioned before. So the conversations pushed me out of my comfort zone, but like in terms of the whole thing, supernatural, so much fun. But one thing I was thinking about was, how many people have an idea and they just don't do anything with it?
A lot of people.
You know? And I hope, I've been documenting this process a lot on Instagram. And so I hope through that documentation that people see, like, oh, within 7 weeks, like this is what happened. This is what they created. Like I can do that too.
And we're recording this from our
iPhones, baby. Yeah, I know. And so I was really just thinking about how proud I am of us for bringing this vision to life, for making it happen, for pushing ourselves out of our comfort zones in our own unique individual ways, and for doing this thing and like being committed to it. We didn't miss a week.
No, we didn't.
No,
not even Thanksgiving. We were here.
Yeah, we were here.
Yeah.
And this is only leg 1 of the project. So we got leg 2 coming up.
There's still more to go. There's still more to go. So thank you guys.
Yes.
If you guys have been watching this series, thank you so much for being on this journey with us.
Yeah. Thank you for holding space for these conversations. You know, my idea of holding space is being able to take your own projections and everything out of the equation and just be and listen and observe and be open. And I know in these conversations we talked about all sorts of stuff that may have challenged your beliefs. And just holding space for conversations to have. And so thank you for that. Because that is not easy to do, especially on these topics that can be a little tricky sometimes.
Yeah, bitch. I shared one of the most vulnerable things in episode 2. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that, but it happened.
Thinking back on the journey of the 7 episodes, like what are your takeaways? How do you feel? Remember episode 1, we were sitting over here in this corner talking about the election.
I know.
That felt like forever ago, but it wasn't.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me is, and this came up when we were in the episode talking about like aging and natural beauty and stuff like that, is just allowing myself to be in whatever space, season, paradigm, like that I'm in, to where if I say something in one series, bitch, don't hold me to it in series 2, okay? I might change my mind.
She's gonna come in with a facelift next time.
But even like election stuff, or like there's new things that are coming up that I'm like, well, I don't know about this, or that's a part of the human experience. Like we're constantly going to be changing our mind. I was even vulnerable about sharing that I had a date, and that's already over.
Unfollowed.
So it's like, the ever-changing evolution of humans. Yeah. Like we say in the beginning of every episode, humanizing the human experience. And the biggest part of being human is that you're never gonna always remain the same. Mm-hmm. At least you shouldn't, in my opinion, unless that thing is like the fucking greatest thing that is serving you in your life and it needs to remain, then all right.
Yeah.
But we're in an ever-changing world. We're an ever-shifting society. Like, things are going to evolve. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think for me in this series, it has been allowing myself to say where I'm at, to say what I feel, to say what's true for me here and now, and totally be okay with that possibly changing and me saying some contradictory shit. So it's possible. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd be like, actually, Mal, I remember you saying the opposite. And I'm like, yeah, well, I went through this.
That was 3 weeks ago.
And since then, I've had a huge paradigm shift.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's been the biggest thing for me. But also just excitement for anybody who's listening and watching and hasn't fully been able to experience you and experience me in the light that we've shared and the very personal things that we've shared here.
Yeah.
And just the excitement of like what you guys get to take away from this new layer of us that we've revealed.
Don't judge us. Don't judge us. Okay.
Yeah, but overall, this episode, to close out series 1, first of all, it felt really important that we're like, y'all should know why we chose each other for this endeavor. Y'all should know how this happened, and the bigger moral of the story, the bigger picture of us telling that is for everybody to see how precious and powerful platonic relationships can really be. And, you know, in a society of no new friends, like, I'm sorry, but fuck all that. Some of my new friends are some of the most amazing friends I've ever had in my entire life. And that goes for my male friends, because I love my homies out there. I love my masculine energies in my world. And our sisters, because there's a lot of sister wounds out there.
Oh, yeah.
If you got sister wounds, come to Womanhood Wellness Weekend. We'll shatter every motherfucking illusion you ever had.
Yes.
But I love it here for us. I love being able to be an example of what's possible in friendship, in sisterhood, in business, in creation. And just want to inspire you guys to see what's possible for you as well when you put yourself in the right places, and when you choose, you make the choices that your spirit is telling you to, and you listen and you follow and you take action on that.
Follow the little pings on your heart. Really follow it. Take a chance on yourself, whatever that is, even if it's going up to someone at a bar and introducing yourself, or someone at IKEA, whatever it is. Like, if you are feeling that ping on anything, starting a podcast, creating a t-shirt, whatever it is, like, do it for the expression. Do it for the fun. Do it for the creativity. We are creative beings in nature, and life gets to be fun. It's full of possibility. And sometimes you get to do stuff without any deeper intention behind it versus just wanting to have fun and try something new.
Yeah. And if it turns into nothing, that's okay.
Yeah.
Girl, that's what I'm going through in my dating experience right now. Like, surrender the art of detachment.
Yeah.
You know, but like, sometimes just the experience of something in itself, whether that's a person, whether that's a place, whether that's an endeavor, like, take what you take from it. It'll only be an L if you don't learn a lesson.
Right.
Like, straight up.
Everything in life is a little stepping stone. Every person, every experience, everything. So that's my takeaway from this whole experience. It's another thing an idea that came in, another success, because it went from ideation to creation. Yeah. And I'm like, this feels fun and exciting for me.
Cheers to humanhood.
Cheers.
And we are going to be creating a live humanhood experience.
Oh, yes.
Yes, since this is our finale episode of Series 1, we will put a little plug in here that we are going to plan a humanhood full day experience. So stay tuned for that. Yeah. That's happening in person here in Arizona. It's co-ed. Men and women will be welcome.
Yes, that was important to us.
Yeah.
We create so many things. Well, you do mainly for women.
Yeah.
And I create a lot of co-ed experiences. And I'm like, this thing's got to be
co-ed.
Co-ed.
Totally.
Bring the men.
Yep.
Bring your honeys.
Or your besties, or your brothers, or whoever.
Yeah.
So, cheers.
Cheers,
again.
my love.
I love you so much.
I love you.
Thank you all for listening, and stay tuned, because I'm pretty sure there's going to be series number 2.
Yes.